All right. Assalamu alaikum, all of you. I hope I'm clear. Um, okay, thanks a lot. So we'll start with the lecture now. Okay. Now this is an important part of the syllabus, which is called as radiation biology, and it is divided into two parts. Okay. This radiation biology lecture is this is part one, and day after tomorrow will be part two. This part one will deal with the cellular level changes that takes place at the, when X-rays hit the tissues. Okay, that the study of effects of radiation on the biological tissues is called as radiation biology. So this is what we will be studying. The part one is basically at the cellular level, and part two will be at the organ level. Okay, I will discuss about little bit about the radiation chemistry, the direct and the indirect effects. What is the meaning of direct and indirect effects? What happens in the biological molecules at the changes that takes place at the biological molecules and at the cellular level. So this is what we'll be discussing. uh, to start with, the definition of radiation biology: it is the study of the effects of ionizing radiation on living systems. Now here, ionizing radiation, I'm talking about the x-rays. Okay, there are other ionizing radiations also, but we'll, since we are dealing with radiology and related to x-rays, we are I'm talking about ionizing radiation as x-rays. As soon as the x-rays hit the tissues, they produce some interaction with the cells or with the molecules or with the cellular structures. The first interaction that takes place is a fraction of a second. This, it is 10 raised to minus 13 seconds it takes for the x-rays to hit or cause initial interaction. So it's like 10 raised to minus 13 is like a fraction of a second. In that much amount of time, the x-rays can cause damage to the living tissues. Okay, this is very important slide. This is like the most important slide of this lecture is this. Okay, it is it is describing the effects of radiation. There are two types of effects of radiation. They are broadly classified as deterministic and stochastic effects. The deterministic effects are, uh, when you give radiation to the tissues, as you increase the radiation, the severity of the response also increases. Okay, so there is nothing like a dose threshold in this deterministic effect. We have got oral, like oral changes after during radiotherapy. Okay, when the patient is undergoing radiotherapy, you give radiation to the patient. First day, he will show some changes. Second session, he will show still more changes. As the radiation is given to the tissues, the severity of the changes also increases. So the severity is basically, it is a dose related. There is no threshold. It's not that when you give very less dose, there is no, that there is no response. There will be no response below that. Okay. So as when you give a specific amount of radiation, only then there is changes seen. Okay. So uh, for an example, at 2 grays. Okay, for example, say at 2 grays, 2 grays. Okay, gy, this gy is the gray. It is a unit for measuring the radiation exposure. At 2 grays, the oral mucosa starts showing mucositis. Okay, mucositis. But when you increase at 4 grays, you will find there is atrophy of the oral mucosa. Okay, atrophy, or there 4 grays, 6 grays, 7 grays, like that. uh, there is no, there is kind of a dose threshold. Now, if this is the dose threshold, okay, when the x-ray radiation is below the, this is the dose threshold. For example, here, this one, if the x-ray radiation is at this level, At this level, there will be no effect. Okay, no changes seen in the oral cavity. This is deterministic effect. Okay, then stochastic effect is just the opposite. What happens here is there is no, when you give, say, a 1 gray, sorry, sorry, I'm so, say when you give 1 gray of dose, okay, or you give 0.5 grays of dose, okay, at any dose, you will find that the chances of occurrence of the disease, is not dose dependent. Okay, means, for an example, if I give, there's no dose threshold. If I give a point 0.5 grays of, uh, of radiation to this patient, or if I give 2 grays of radiation to this patient, or 4 grays of radiation, the effect will be the same. Okay, the effect will be, say, for an example, it's called as cancer. Okay, this very important drawback or very important side effect of radiation, which is called as the radiation induced cancer. Now this effect is the same. Okay, effect is the same, and there is no dose threshold. Either this effect will be there or will not be there. It's called as a all or none rule. Okay, this is the all or none rule. It is seen only, uh, you will only find the effect to be present or to be absent. So there is no dose threshold. Even if you are giving less dose, there are chances that the patient will get, cancer. Okay, the example is radiation induced cancer. Okay, so this is the difference between deterministic and stochastic effect. Now coming to the direct and the indirect effects. What is the meaning of direct and indirect? Direct effect is in which the X-ray photon, this is the X-ray photon, okay, X-ray photon, which directly causes changes in the biological molecules. Whereas indirect effect is X-ray photons, when they hit the water molecule which is present inside the body, it causes release of free radicals, and these free radicals are the ones which causes changes in the biological molecules. Okay, so this is an indirect method, whereas this is a direct method in which directly the X-rays causes damage on the, DNA or RNA, whereas in indirect the X-rays causes changes in the water molecule, and then it releases the free radical, and that causes the changes in the biological molecules. So this is the difference between direct and indirect effect. Very important topic, very important, that point that you have to remember. This is the direct and indirect. Here the DNA or the RNA or proteins and enzymes may be affected by the direct effect. Here you have to note that enzymes, which enzymes mainly for our concern is the, okay, because it is close to the oral cavity, the enzyme or the gland is thyroid or parathyroid gland. Okay, these are the two glands which are very important for us, because they are close to the oral cavity, and X-rays, they can cause damage to these glands. So you have to be careful to make the patient wear thyroid collar. Okay, this thyroid collar will basically, cause protection for both thyroid as well as the parathyroid gland. Okay, now here the X-rays, they affect the DNA, which is by the which is called as the direct effect. Now coming to the indirect is most of the damage, maximum number of amount of damage done to the DNA is through indirect effect. So direct effect is very less. When the X-ray ionizes the water molecule, ions and free radicals are produced, which in turn bond with a DNA molecule that changes its structure. And then since the X-rays interacted with the water molecule before the DNA was involved, this is called as a indirect effect. So X-rays, they hit the water molecules, it releases the ions and the free radicals, and these free radicals causes the damage to the DNA. Okay, that's why it is called as indirect effect. This free radical is basically an atom or a molecule that has an unpaired electron in the valence shell, making it highly reactive. Okay, so when you remove an electron from the outermost shell, what remains is the unpaired electron. Okay, that unpaired electron causes this atom to become highly reactive. And when you give oxygen, because the patient is having breathing oxygen, so there is oxygen present in the tissues. In the presence of oxygen, this hydroperoxyl free radical is formed, which is the most damaging free radical. So, along with water, you have got oxygen also. So, these two causes formation of hydroperoxyl free radical. These free radicals are the primary mediator of indirect effect of DNA, effects on DNA. Okay, so this is what happens actually at the molecular, at the atomic level. The main mediator is the free radical in presence of oxygen, which forms a hydroperoxyl free radical. Okay, now this causes the main damage to the tissues. There are different modifiers or different factors that causes changes in the biological response. The factors are very simple and easy to understand. The first factor is the total dose. Logically everyone will agree to this factor. If you increase the dose, the damage will be more. Okay, so higher the radiation dose, the greater the potential cellular damage. You cannot hear? You cannot hear my voice? Hello? Okay. Okay, then I think Muhammad Eid, you need to check your speaker. Okay, maybe that's why it is not you're not able to hear. Okay. Um, so this is the biological effect modifier. Okay, first is total dose. Second is dose rate. Okay, what is the meaning of dose rate? Dose rate is basically at what frequency you are giving the dose. Suppose if I give dose today, okay, and then after say 2 days, the effect is more as compared to when I'm giving today, and then after say 1 month. Okay, so the dose rate is an important factor to cause damage to the biological tissues. The third is total area covered. This is also important. That's why in our X-ray machine, to reduce the total area covered, there is something called as, if you remember X-ray machine, there's something called as collimator. Okay, this collimator basically shapes the beam. Either it is round or rectangular, if you remember. Okay, collimator is either round or rectangular. So depending on the size, or depending on the manufacturer, you can either have a round or rectangular collimator that helps in reducing the area covered by the X-rays. Okay, these are the third one. Then the fourth one is type of tissue. Okay, more the radiosensitive tissue, more the damage. Okay, so radiosensitive cells are more likely to be damaged than our radio resistant cells. What are the examples of this? I will show you later. Then the fifth one is age of the patient. The cells that divide more frequently in a growing child are affected more than the adults. So if the cells are dividing frequently, the the patient is more prone for radiation induced damage. The sixth one is linear energy transfer. Now this is a term which how do you explain it? It is basically the rate of the loss of energy of the X-rays as it moves through the tissue. Suppose if it hits the tissue at one point and it exits from the other side, the linear energy transfer is basically how much of the energy it has lost when it is passing through the tissue. So more the LET, more the linear energy transfer, more the damage, because it is losing more energy in the the X-rays are losing more energy, and they're giving the energy to the tissues. That is why there is something called as, we take into consideration the speed of X-rays, okay, and filtration of X-rays. These two are important, filtration. That's why we have put aluminum filter. If you remember, there's something called as aluminum filter that is used in order to absorb the X-rays which are low energy. Now, this low energy X-rays are absorbed by the patient. So they have got a linear energy transfer is very high. So they are absorbed by the tissues. So these low energy X-rays can cause significant amount of damage. Then last one is oxygen effect. If you remember the previous slides, I told you in presence of water and oxygen, the effect is hydroperoxyl free radical. So if there is an oxygen present, it will form more hydroperoxyl free radical as compared to no oxygen. Okay, so in anaerobic condition, the effect of radiation is much less as compared to aerobic conditions. Okay, when there is oxygen present, there is formation of hydroperoxyl free radical that causes the actual damage. Okay, there are different types of biological effects on the of radiation. Just to name, biochemical changes that takes place are the denaturation of proteins, means the proteins become denatured. Okay, also there is a release of toxic substances. They are like histamine like in nature. So these are the biochemical changes. What happens to the arteries? Okay, the peripheral vessels, they gets obliterated. That's called as end arteritis obliterans. So this obliteration of the peripheral vessels causes reduced blood supply to the organ, and that can cause degeneration of the or atrophy of the organ. Okay, so this is called as end arteritis obliterans. These are the stromal changes. Stroma means vascular changes. Then what happens to the nucleus? The nucleus undergoes swelling, vacuolation, loss of chromatin pattern, fragmentation, and destruction. What happens to cytoplasm? There is liquefaction of cell mass and there is loss of granularity. There is ground glass appearance, okay, vacuolation, and absorption of the cell membrane. So this causes death of the cell when the cell membrane is absorbed. Nucleus and cytoplasm. Nucleus is very prone to radiation damage. Okay, so these are the effects of the at the morphological level. Okay, morphological changes. Functional changes. What happens is the motility of the cell is suppressed, reproduction is suppressed, growth is suppressed. Okay, there is oxygen consumption. I told you, because the oxygen is there, oxygen gets consumed by the tissues. There is fatty mucoid or amyloid degeneration. Okay, and permeability is increased or decreased, permeability of the cell membrane, and special cell function like gland secretion may be suppressed or stopped depending on the dose. Okay, so that also can cause say it can be either exocrine glands or endocrine glands, so that can be depressed or suppressed or it is stopped completely. These are the effects at the functional side. What happens to the biological molecules like nucleic acids? Okay, the DNA is the primary mechanism. DNA damage is the primary mechanism. What happens to the DNA? Either there is breakage of one or both the strands, there is cross-linking of the DNA, there is change or loss of base, there is disruption of the hydrogen bonds between the strands, either it is single or double strand breakage. So these are the things that can happen to the DNA. Breakage of one or both the strands of the DNA, there can be cross-linking and there can be change of loss of base. These are the things that can happen to the DNA. Nucleus is more sensitive than cytoplasm, okay, especially in dividing cells. The site for sensitive site in the nucleus is the DNA. So major damage occurs at the DNA level or within the nucleus. Just remember this cell cycle. Okay, this is basically when the cell is born and it undergoes growth one phase, then comes the synthesis phase, Okay, and then comes the G2 phase, and then the mitosis phase. So the cell is called as a cell cycle. Okay, the type of damage that may be observed depends on the stage of the cell in the cell cycle at the time of irradiation. Okay, so starting in the growth 1 phase, this is the growth 1 G1 phase, and this is the S phase. Okay, the cell has already reached in the S phase, so half of or part of S phase. So this is the part in which the cell is most sensitive to radiation. So starting in the G1 phase and early S phase. So these are the, yes, it can occur in all, in not in every X-ray. Uh, there are chances that all the cells will not be in this phase of cell cycle. Some may be in G2 phase, or some may be in late S phase, or some may be in M phase or mitosis phase. So then, when they are in this phase, the cell is not radio sensitive or maybe less radio sensitive. But if it is in this phase, there are chances that the cell can get damaged. Okay. uh, okay, so this is cell cycle. This is an important part. Okay, when this is called as a chromosome aberration, during DNA synthesis, there's something called as RNA and DNA. Okay, this single strand is called as the RNA. Okay, this RNA undergoes DNA synthesis and it replicates. Okay, causing making two strands. Okay, these are the two strands here. And after the DNA synthesis, if you give X-ray, when the X-ray reaches the cell, after the DNA synthesis, you will find there may be breakage in one strand only. There is a breakage in the one strand only. Whereas if the X-ray hit the RNA, before the DNA synthesis, the break occurs in one strand, and then the DNA synthesis, if it occurs naturally, the result will be a double strand breakage. So the single strand breakage is when the X-ray hit after the DNA synthesis, and double strand breakage is seen when the X-ray is hit before the DNA synthesis. So before the DNA synthesis, the RNA gets spoiled. After the DNA synthesis, RNA is good, DNA is formed already, and then the X-rays can cause single strand breakage. But if it is before DNA synthesis, there are chances that the patient will have double strand breakage. Now these can cause genetic diseases in the patient. Okay, if it is this chromosome is basically, if it is X or Y chromosome, there are chances that the patient will have sex-linked diseases. Or if it is in the first autosomal chromosome, the patient will have different types of illnesses. Okay, so genetic alteration occurs at this level. And if it is a double strand breakage, that means, see what happens if it is a single strand breakage, there are chances that the allele which is corresponding here on this side will make up, so the patient will not show the symptoms. But if it's a double strand breakage, both the strands are affected, so there are chances that the patient will show clinically the signs and symptoms. Okay, that's the difference between the signal and the double strand breakage. What happens to the proteins? Okay, their proteins have got primary, secondary, and tertiary structures. They are like they are like a tree. Okay, so we have got a tree here. Okay, imagine. Okay, then we have got branches. Okay, okay, these are the secondary structures. And then we have got leaves. These are the tertiary structures. So simple way to understand is like this. Okay, so each proteins are having the primary structure, the secondary structure, and the tertiary structure, small tertiary structures. Okay, this is primary, this is secondary, and this is tertiary. So mainly primary is not affected. What happens is secondary and tertiary structures are affected in the proteins. Okay, so this side chain disruption, strand breakage can occur in this. There is inter and intramolecular cross linking is there. There is, when you irradiate enzyme, the effect of radiation is amplified means it is increased much more. Why? Because enzyme is, say for an example, enzyme is an endocrine gland. Okay, thyroid. radiation effect is also amplified or increased. Okay, so this is about proteins. Cytoplasm is relatively very less, less affected by the radiation. Only at the 30 to 50 grays, this is a very high dose. 30 to 50 grays is very high. At that dose, the cytoplasm gets affected. What do you see in the mitochondria? There's increased permeability, swelling, and disorganization of the internal cristae. These are parts of the mitochondria. So you will find increased permeability. So mitochondria gets more permeable, so it gets destroyed. There is swelling of the mitochondria and disorganization of the internal cristae. These changes minor role in cellular changes that occur in rapidly dividing cells after exposure to 2 to 4 grays. Okay, so mainly you will find in rapidly dividing cells at 2 to 4 grays, you will find damage in mainly because of the nucleus destruction as compared to cytoplasm. Okay, cytoplasm is less. Okay, there is something called as a mitotic delay, inhibition of progression of cells through cell cycle. So when you give X-rays to the patient, there is inhibition of the cells to progress from one stage to another. Say if the cell is at G1 phase, there are chances that the cell will not go to G2 phase. Okay, that is called as inhibition of growth of cell cycle. That is mitotic delay. This is mainly seen of population of dividing cells are seen. Low dose, there is mild mitotic delay, and elevated mitotic in means when you give low dose, the mitotic delay is very less. Means after a period of time, the dose, if you remove the dose, the patient's mitotic index will come back to normal. Means the activity of the cell division will come back to normal. Whereas if it is a moderate dose, when you give, the patient will have moderate mitotic delay. Okay, but if you give large dose, the mitotic delay is permanently stopped or permanently reduced. Suppose for an example, I'll give you an example. The patient is suffering from radiotherapy. You give radiation dosage to the oral mucosa. Okay, and the patient develops, say, initially low dose means he will develop, say, mucositis. Okay, then you increase the dose and increase the dose and increase the dose. Okay, when the patient reaches 20 or 50 grays, there are chances that the patient will undergo permanent disability of the oral mucosa. Means the elasticity of the oral mucosa is lost. So the mitotic delay is permanent, and because of the extreme dose, high dose, the mitotic delay doesn't come back to, there is permanent mitotic delay and the mitotic index doesn't come back to normal. So this is what is called as cell kinetics. Okay, mitotic delay. This is what I meant. Okay, low dose. When you give low dose, the mitotic index reduces, means there is mitotic delay. And then when you remove the dose, the patient comes back to normal. Okay, this is moderate dose, more mitotic delay. Whereas in large dose, mitotic delay is too high. Okay, or mitotic index reduces considerably, but it never comes back to normal. Okay, it is always less than normal. This is what I meant. When you give large dose, the patient oral mucosa, for an example, may not come back to its normal characteristics. Cell death is mitosis linked death in a cell population is loss of the capacity for mitotic division. There is damage to the nucleus causing chromosome aberration and cell death. Dividing cells, the dose required is less. When the cell is dividing actively, at low dose also, you will find there is cell death. Okay. Whereas for non-dividing cells, you need a more dose, a higher dose to in order for the cell to die. This is an important slide. Just remember there are different radiosensitivity cell types. Okay, based on the radiosensitivity, there are different types of cells. The first very radiosensitive is the vegetative endomitotic cells, which divide regularly, have long mitotic futures. They do not undergo differentiation. Differentiation means they maturity. Okay, so these actively dividing cells, they do not undergo maturity between mitosis. Example is spermatogenic and erythroplastic cells. Also basal cells of oral mucosa. This is for our concern. Basal cells is of oral mucosa or mucosa cells. So these are highly radiosensitive. Less radiosensitive are differentiating endomitotic cells. Okay, they divide regularly, but they undergo some maturation. If the cell undergoes maturation, it becomes less radiosensitive. Example is replicating cells of inner enamel epithelium or cells of the hematopoietic series, means RBCs and WBCs. Okay, so these are the examples for differentiating endomitotic cells. Then we have got multipotential connective tissue cells, reverting postmitotic cells. Now this is in increasing, means this is most radiosensitive, this is slightly less, this is slightly less, so slightly less, and this is least. So the least radiosensitive means radio-resistant cells are neurons, striated muscle cells, squamous epithelial cells. These are the least radiosensitive. Also, you will notice that slightly, radiosensitive are the salivary gland cells. Okay, salivary gland cells are not very radiosensitive. Okay, so you have to remember this: salivary gland cells are not very radiosensitive. But still, in many patients, in 100% of the patients, you will find those who are undergoing radiotherapy, you will find there is loss of salivary secretion. The patient complains of xerostomia. Okay, what is the reason for this? I will explain to you in the next class. Why the patient suffers from uh, salivary gland, xerostomia, in spite of salivary glands being more radio resistant. It is more toward this side, more toward the right side. It is more radio resistant, and more towards the left side are more radio sensitive. So we'll discuss this about this point in the next class. And depending on the organ level, we have got high radio sensitivity are the lymphoid organs, bone marrow, testis, intestines, mucous membrane. Now for us, very important are the mucous membrane, oral mucous membrane. Okay, these are highly radio sensitive cells, especially basal cells of the oral mucosa. And then we've got intermediate cells, intermediate organs which are intermediate sensitive, fine vasculatures, salivary glands. Okay, this is for us is more important is the salivary gland. And apart from that, lungs, kidney, and liver, these are intermediate. And low is optic lens, where the eyes are radio resistant, mature RBCs, muscle cells, and neurons. Okay, so these are the low radio sensitive cells, low radio sensitive organs. Means x-rays will, you need a large dose to affect these organs, and you need a very less dose to affect these organs. Okay, so for us it is mainly mucous membranes. Okay, mucous membranes, salivary glands, and to some extent, muscle cells or optic lens. So these are the various cellular level changes that takes place. Next class uh, will be on the organ level. Okay, part 2. If you have any questions, you can ask.